So I got this idea from this book, How to Be So Good They Can't Ignore You. But this is totally different from the book that's out about this. But I've just been thinking about, what can I do to be so good they can't ignore me? And so this is, there's so many different paths to this. There's so many different things. This will probably evolve and grow, but this has really got me thinking, mapping out something different from my life, completely different than what I thought. And so the first thing is, I'm just thinking about, what do I want to be known for in the next 5 to 7 years? And so I'm about to be 50, very pivotal time in my life. So I'm just thinking about, for myself, what do I want to be known for? What do I want to be an expert in? What do I want the next 20, 40 books to be about? And that's what I'm thinking about, is in this particular area that I want to be an expert in the next 5 or 7 years. What do I want to be writing about? What do I want to be known for? What do I want my body of work to be, that, of my lifetime? And then the next thing that you can do to be so good they can't ignore you is have something to say. Think about your thoughts and ideas and opinions and insights and thought leadership. What are you thinking about your particular industry, your particular area of expertise, your hobby? What do you have to say? What do you want to say? So you got to have something to say. You got to have something meaningful to say, something that's going to add to the conversation. You got to have some type of insights. And I have found that if you journal every single day, you observe, you think, you reflect, every single day, you will have something to say. You have something meaningful to say. You have something to add to the conversation. You have something insightful, enlightening. The next thing is read for several hours a day. And so this is different for everybody, right? It might be 1 hour. It might be 5 hours. But every single day, read in your industry. The reason why you read every day in your industry, and you might read wide, so you might read a variety of things, biographies, autobiographies, your area of expertise, etc. The thing is to it starts to change the way you think. It starts to improve the way you think. It starts to give you more ideas. I have found the more I read, the more ideas I get. Could be completely different from what I'm, my area of expertise is, but it still gives me insight, and it makes me think about concepts that are unrelated, how they could be related. If you want to be so good they can't ignore you, think about fasting from TV, fasting from social media, fasting from the news, all these different things. Think about fasting from these things so you have time to be by yourself, thinking about what you're thinking about what you think about your area of expertise, thinking about what you can add, thinking about what you want to learn more about, how you can grow it, what you agree with, what you disagree. Publish something daily on your particular topic. So if you want to be so good they can't ignore you, publish something on your area of expertise every single day. Maybe it's a video, maybe it's a blog post, maybe it's just a few, 1 or 2 sentences, maybe it's a lesson, maybe it's a story. But every single day you're publishing something on your particular area of expertise. Think about writing 10 books. So maybe over the next 10 years, you write a book a year. Maybe you write a book, 2 books every year. But every year, at least, you're writing 1 book, so that at some point you have 10 books that you've wrote about your particular area of expertise. And of course, in order to write a book, in most cases, you got to read a lot to be able to write a book. So it just deepens your craft as you continue to master it, continue to get better. As I mentioned before, have your own thoughts, ideas, and opinions about a topic. Don't just go along with the crowd. Is there something that you disagree, something that you agree? What can you add to what's already out there? Can you do surveys or different things where you can, find out what majority of people think? And then, there's just different ways you can do it. You can build on others' thoughts and ideas. So can you add to it? Can you, there's different, you could take it apart and say, okay, I agree with this, I disagree with this, but you can certainly enter the conversation. It's something that you really disagree with, that you can step up and say, okay, I don't agree with this. This is what I believe. There's different things. You create your own frameworks, different ways of doing things. Think about creating something that's nice, visually appealing, and then also make sure that you look attractive. We're emotional. I mean, men are visually appealing, but most people like to see a visually appealing person on video or, whatever it is, in person for, keynote or speaking. So just make sure that you look visually appealing. Spend time every day in deep work. every single day, spend 4 or 5 hours on whatever your particular craft is. Maybe it's writing, maybe it's reading, but there's, maybe it's just reflecting, maybe it's thinking every single day. And then the next one is spend time thinking and reflecting every single day. So spend time doing deep work, maybe it's writing, but then spend time reflecting and thinking every single day. Think about every day, how am I doing? Am I getting better? What areas do I need to improve? But every day you're asking yourself, because the goal is to get 1% better every single day. That's the goal, is every single day to get better and better. And so that's how you can be so good they can't ignore you. You're constantly getting better. When everybody else is on vacation, they're playing, they're doing all these things, watching TV, on social media, you're constantly getting better. Just over and over again, you're constantly getting better. You can plan out a 6-book series or a 12-book series over maybe a year, maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years. But you say, over the next 3 years, this is my plan. This is what I'm going to publish. This is what I'm going to write. This is what this is what I want to be expert in. This is what I want people to come to me for. And just plan out your book series. Ryan Holiday, and I believe David Green taught him this. It's this index card method. And what it is you read the book. And of course, as you're reading the book, you're highlighting, you're underlining, you're making notes. And then when you get through reading the book, then you go back after 2 weeks, letting the book sit for 2 weeks. And you put on index cards, the big jumbo index cards, your particular, whatever the topic is that you want this book to be under, this particular excerpt from the book, whatever the quote is from the book, you put it on an index card, and it has a topic at the top. And then as you go through the whole book, and you're putting on index cards different topics and the quotes that came directly from the book that you'll use in some way. Maybe you're using a keynote, training, course, whatever it is, you're going to use it in something, but you have it on this index card. And they use this method, of course, for books, to write books. And then Parker Notes, he has this entire system where he uses notebooks, and it's the same thing. His thing is, he puts everything in his notebook by topic, and then before he does a video or writes anything, he reads over all the notes that he's taken, whether it's from books or podcasts or whatever it is, he puts it in his notebooks, different notebooks. Every day, read, study, and think. Every single day, read, study, and think. So there's no way that you can just become an expert without, all you do is read. You've got to read, study, and think. Read, study, and think, and reflect, on what you're reading, how you can apply it, what happened when you applied it, how is it applicable to your life, right? Most of us have 30 years of experience, 20 years of experience. So how can we apply it? How can we see this in our life in real time? You can create a newsletter. If you want to be an expert, if you want to be so good they can't ignore you, you want to create a newsletter where you have to create content every single week. Maybe it's weekly, maybe it's bi-weekly, but every single week every 2 weeks, you're creating content. So if you want to be seen as an expert, create a newsletter. Think about your topic, your area of expertise from unique angles. Just kind of flip it on the side, just kind of look at it from different angles. Just kind of do some brain dumping and see, okay, what can you talk about it? What gaps are in the marketplace? What can you add to it? Just different things that could be missed, new perspectives that you have. Just think about that. Know who your target audience is. Know who you're talking to. It's very important that you know who your target audience is, what their needs are, what are they looking for? How do they normally receive content? Who do they normally receive content from? So who are your competitors? Think about you are enough. And a lot of times we all have the same fear, right? We're worried that we're not going to be good enough. We got to do this, and this, and this, and this before we're good enough. But the truth is we're already good enough. We already have a lot of expertise. We already have a lot of experience, and we can use that to make somebody else's life better. And typically, hundreds of thousands of people, we can make their lives better. If we just speak up, if we just say what we think, we say how we feel, we say, speak about our insights and our lessons and all these different experiences that we've had. So just something to be thinking about is you are enough. And then finally, sometimes walking away is the only answer. Sometimes you got this problem you're trying to solve, or you got this topic and you're trying to figure out, how you could put your spin on it. And sometimes you just got to walk away from the page, walk away from the camera and just think, take a walk around the neighborhood, and then or wherever you are in the gym, just take a walk and then come back and think about your topic with a fresh perspective. So just some things to think about if you want to be so good they can't ignore you. Just start making some changes, start doing some things, just start kind of playing out, how do you see your life in the next 5 or 10 years? What changes do you need to make? What books do you need to write? What, newsletter, a weekly show, just all these different things, podcasting. What do you need to do so you're consistently talking about your topic, that you're in front of your target market every single day, talking about your particular topic?